If you are telling stories for business, you typically need to do two things. You need to reach an audience, and then you want to build that audience to make it your own. And to do this, you need to understand who they are and what they want. Religious parables are a great examples of getting this right. If you think back to religious stories, they often speak in terms that the audience of the day understood. Understanding what an audience cares about, the terms at which they view the world, that's going to help you be able to connect with them and build them to become your own audience. So the obvious is understanding the vocabulary, the language that your audience understands. What is the vocabulary of the audience that you are trying to reach? People are multifaceted. If you are B2B, don't think that the people at the other end of your business, your business relationship, are robots that only love business. Think in terms of people. The fantastic thing about thinking of storytelling in terms of building an audience is that once you have an audience, it's yours. Wherever you go, they'll follow. They'll be loyal to you. They will listen. This is the way the business are being built today. It's what you need to do, and you need to keep telling stories. You don't just tell one story. You must continually cultivate and develop this audience. It's like Martin Luther King said, if I stop preaching to the choir, they will stop singing. Now to do this, we'll talk about something called the story relationship funnel. Do not confuse this with sales funnel. To differentiate sales funnel is focused on buying process than results in bringing in new and recurring customers. Relationship funnels, on the other hand, focus on building trust and giving value with an aim to establish long-lasting relationship with your customers. For this metrics to be effective, divide this funnel into three dimensions. Vertically, that help you to brainstorm good ideas for stories to be shared at different points of your relationship with your audience. And this has to do with timeliness. Stories are extremely timely. Things that be happening now, like stories that are seasonal, stories that are happening in small frame of time. And thirdly, the kind of stories which are timeless, which are evergreen. Stories that you can tell at any time and they won't go away. So when you're coming up with the kinds of stories you want to tell your audience, think about the relationship stage that you are with the audience. And then use timeliness principle as a way to make brainstorming easier. What are the stories that you want to talk about in this stage? And what relationship that you are in now? And also, it's time to think what we can plan for later. And what are timeless stories that you can tell at each of the different stages of your relationship with your customers. Relationship funnels, as the name suggests, are focused on the relationship first and selling second. Build a relationship before selling a solution. Sell a solution after building relationship. Even though this may seem counterintuitive for your company's growth strategies, especially since sales aims to maximize return as quickly as possible, in the long term is a relationship that will last. Now it's time to build the audience. For this, we'll use a concept called the story metrics. So you can divide the world of storytelling into two categories: business storytelling and consumer storytelling. And then you can divide your goals into roughly two categories. If you want sort of awareness and branding, perception, or if you want someone to take an action, make a conversion, or make a sale, and you divide this world into these four quadrants, then you have the start of the storytelling. So if you are talking into business, you are telling stories to business owners, leaders, workers, and your goal is perception or branding. You might want to establish your stories on LinkedIn. If your goal is perception or branding, you are talking to consumers, you might want to go to YouTube. Or if your goal is to get people to take an action, to sign up for something, to buy something, and your audience is businesses, you might want to go to SlideShow. And then again, if your goal is to get people to take an action and your consumer says it's commerce or products, you might want to go to Pinterest. Each of these different channels and social networks and platforms lends itself to different audiences and different goals. But then what you should do is you should lead people deeper in your bullseye. If you reach someone on LinkedIn with a story, the end of the story should have a call to action. Not to buy something necessary, but to subscribe to the next layer into the bullseye. Say your emails. Get more stories like this via emails. You can do this on almost any platform. And then every email that you send with more stories should have at the end of each email the call to action that says get more of these stories or get more stories from our website. And this way you can pull people closer in that relationship to the depth that you want. You can start to own your own audience. So the idea is that you should reach your audience on the platforms that they are already hanging out on and then drive them towards platforms that are closer to you to get them to where you want them to go. Now let me talk to you something about unleashing potential energy. Building an audience through storytelling is about building relationship. And as you know from real relationship, you don't get a deep relationship from one encounter. You need to tell stories over and over repeatedly to build the deepest kind of relationship, whether it's for business or whether it's your personal life. The nice thing is you get compounding returns for storytelling. The more stories you tell, the more of a snowball effect you can get. Building an audience is not just about telling one story, one time, just like getting in shape is not getting out to gym once. But with consistency, remember, if you stick with it, over time, the result in either case is going to be dramatic.